practicing my Half-Life zombie noises, obviously.
No, not obviously. I'm not exactly sure what you sounded like, but those noises were definitely not zombie.
Really? I'm sorry, Lorelai. I didn't realize you were a zombie expert. Please enlighten us with your zombie wisdom.
Well, I don't want to brag, but
Are you kidding me? Really?
I did play a scientist in Leah's original production of Seeing Beyond last year.
Yeah,
you remember I was talking to Ray back.
I'm gonna stop you right there because if I do remember this correctly, your character took off the collars on the monsters that then went insane, wrecked the studio, and I'm pretty sure someone died.
Oh, right. Yeah. Carry on with your zombie.
Yeah, thank you. Well, as much as I would like to, we really have to get on with the show. The audience is here, so. The zombie know-it-all here is Lorelai.
And my snarky co-host right here, this is Jackson.
Proudly.
And welcome to the Buzz.
Now, believe it or not, but I actually did have a reason for making zombie noises. I don't just make those for fun.
Oh, really? Because that sounds like the exact kind of thing that you would do for fun.
Okay, maybe sometimes I do, when you get in that vibe of playing like a zombie. Don't judge me! Anyways, on this episode, we have a few zombie-themed segments.
That's true. Today, we have a very disturbing history mystery in store for you guys.
As if we have not already disturbed our entire audience with the Axeman and the Butcher's Wife, who now that I think about it, he was probably the first hacker, because he hacked up his wife and then fed it to the people.
Today, we'll be telling you the story of Violet, the zombie child.
Mama.
Really? Also, going along with the zombie theme, Jackson and Megan will be making zombie meatloaf. It ought to be deadlicious.
Oh, okay, here we go again. See, of course, you're going to try and steal my bit. See, my bit, I've tried talking with you, but my bit is puns, all right? I do puns, all right? They're good. They're really good. Everybody loves them. They laugh at them all the time, and your puns are just painful.
You know what, Jackson? Just because you said that, I'm going to see how many more I can sneak in.
How dare you?
But right now, we're going to head right over to Megan for our favorite weekly segment, Toby's Friends Adoptable Pet of the Week.
Megan here again with Toby's Friends Adoptable Pet of the Week. Check out this cute and sweet guy, Raymond. Raymond is a 3-year-old male collie and terrier mix. He's up to date on shots, house trained, crate trained, and knows several commands. Visit takepawsrescue.org to learn how you can adopt Raymond or another great new furry friend. And that is it for this week's Pet of the Week. Now back to Lola and Jackson with another history
hope that Raymond
mystery.
gets a good home really soon.
Yes, we do. He is absolutely adorable, by the way, and already so smart and already so well trained. Like, seriously, so cute.
Well, it is that time again. History mystery time.
Oh, yeah. Ba-da-da-dum. I love that. History mystery segment this week is actually going to be one of very, very, very cool. It introduces us to Robert and Yvette. They were a young couple living in a beautiful home on the edge of the French Quarter. The family estate was one of great wealth, and the entire area was owned by the members of the Marigny family.
That's right. The area is even now called the Marigny. Though they were wealthy in money and love, they had been unable to have a child.
Oh, that's sad.
On the advice of an elderly aunt, Robert sought the help of one of the most famous physicians practicing in New Orleans, Dr. Joseph Victor Gottschalk.
One heck of a last name. The sign on his office read physician, surgeon, and occultist. He has summoning circle in his main office, which was less of a strange combination, back in those times than it would be today. Yvette became a patient of Dr. Gottschalk, and, well, whether it was his skills as a physician or occultist rituals, Yvette gave birth the following spring to a healthy young little girl that they named Violet.
They named her Violet because her eyes were the color of amethyst.
Oh, that's cute.
For the first time, the couple felt their married life was now complete.
Yay!
A nanny was also brought in to help provide constant care for the beautiful little girl.
Violet's life was one of pampered elegance because, her parents had desperately wanted a child for so long. Only childs. The doctor himself presented little Violet with a wonderful, wonderful gift on her first birthday. A beautiful pair of amethyst earrings, the same color as Violet's eyes. Robert's business often took him to more distant areas of the estates, ones where he acted on behalf of Count Marigny in the capacity of manager of the estate overseers. Little Violet would watch wide-eyed as her father rode away to work. after having, begged to be allowed to go with him, tantrums and that.
Yvette, however, always objected to the suggestion that Robert might take Violet into the swampy lowlands and woods of the unoccupied estates where she might be exposed to all sorts of dangers.
Very reasonable.
When Violet was 5 years old, Yvette received a message that her mother was very ill and needed her to come right away.
Oh no. Yvette was adamant that Violet should not make the long trip with her, so the little girl was to remain at home in the care of her nanny.
The nanny also spoiled Violet, giving in to her whims.
Oh no.
So, with her mother out of town and her father about to depart for a work journey, Violet was in another of her tantrums because she wanted to go with him.
This is not good.
The nanny gave in to Violet's demands to accompany her father, and Robert, seeing no harm in it, agreed to take the little girl along.
On the 5th day, Robert came home in a carriage and rushed up to the house carrying Violet in his arms.
No.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Gottschalk was immediately summoned via summoning circle, but the news was bad. Violet had contracted a delirium fever, possibly scarlet fever or malaria, and it had so drained her tiny body that there was little hope of her survival. Robert was racked with guilt, as you would be, at having taken Violet on the work journey with him against his wife's constant wishes. Little Violet did not live to see another sunrise. You gotta feel bad for the guy, man.
Yeah, just an hour before dawn, she passed away.
It's so sad.
Dr. Gottschalk made the funeral arrangements for Violet as her father Robert succumbed to his grief and could not be comforted. Word was sent to St. John's Parish to tell Yvette that her dearest child had passed. They laid Violet in the soil of the Esplanade Ridge. Robert and Yvette were so deep in grief that all business and domestic obligations seemed to come to a complete halt.
Robert grieved for his sweet Violet, but also for his wife, who was barely able to get out of bed in those days following the funeral. He feared that he would lose her as well if something couldn't be done. In those days, money might buy anything, and in his grief, in his desperate need, whether in league with God or the devil, Robert did not care. He had money. He was desperate for a solution. He set out just 2 days after Violet had been laid to rest to find a person who would help him put an end to this pain.
Lurking outside the gates of Congo Square in the wild torchlight of one of the great Voodoo ceremonies,
As you do.
Robert made the hellish pact with two of the mavens of a voodoo group. They had agreed to attempt to bring back his beloved little Violet.
Jesus Christ, this is where it gets really, really weird. The corpse of little Violet was removed from her resting place in the cemetery and taken to a secret location where, for one full cycle of the moon, a month, she was subjected to the most powerful voodoo magic. As you do.
No, nobody
Yeah.
does that.
Exactly. Robert failed to tell his wife of the plan just in case it did not work. Good move. But he secretly hoped and even prayed that somehow he would have his little girl back.
One night there came a knock at the front door. The couple rushed to open it and was puzzled to see an old voodoo matron standing there with Violet. The couple burst into tears of joy and happiness. Yvette, confused but thrilled, scooped the little girl into her trembling arms.
With Violet's eyes once again burning with life, the little girl said in a familiar voice, like the sound of tinkling glass, "Mama!" We all saw it coming. This is gonna get creepy. With that, the couple's joy seemed complete once again. Explanations were made to his wife, and she had no objections to how he managed to bring her daughter back home. And the joy was back in their lives.
And joyful it was, at least for a time.
Dun dun dun.
When the servants learned of the child's return, they were fearful as to how the child was reanimated. The nanny was the most frightened of all the house servants.
Oh, I wonder why.
Fear kept them all in place, fear of what she might be capable of doing. The once beautiful and vibrant Violet was now somehow different.
Something about her was never quite right, and none of the servants liked being in her presence. Big red flags here, deep inside the house. Pattering. Footsteps, deep in the night, troubled the servants. Yet Robert and Yvette seemed only to see Violet, almost as if living a perpetual dream state, under the child's spell.
First, it was the little night creatures that were found dead, hidden under the low branches or covered in moss in the roots of trees.
Jeez.
Some looked as if they had been skinned alive by claws.
Okay.
Others were torn in half, with parts missing. Another strange occurrence was the disappearance of meat stock in the smokehouse and pantry.
Of course! Of course. No fresh cut of meat was safe, evidently, and although at first the cook staff were puzzled, they became outright fearful when they observed marks in some of the raw meat that looked as if they had been gnawed upon by little human teeth.
Robert and Yvette remained blissfully unaware of the change. The servants watched in horror as the little girl seemed, for all intents and purposes, to be decomposing before their eyes. They believed that the black magic workers had, instead of restoring her to her wholesome life, had zombified her.
They may have even endowed her with great power. The servants knew they were trapped in a horrible nightmare with a possibly, all-powerful zombie girl, fearful for their own lives. They made a pact among themselves. When the opportunity presented itself, they would take the zombie child from the home and to the aid of a powerful Vaudin patron. It is said that they took their case to the daughter of Mary Lavar, Mademoiselle Marie, and begged for her aid.
Not surprisingly, Mademoiselle Marie was angered by what she saw as a horrible act that went against the practices of her mother's Vaudin beliefs and the sanctity of life and death.
As you would.
On the night that the servants appealed to her, Mademoiselle Marie said to them, "For Violet, I will give you strength to do this thing. For Violet."
Of all people, it was the faithful Nanny who found the courage and the strength to face the, little creature that had taken the place of her beloved Violet. Alone with the zombie child in the nursery, the woman was able to overcome her worst fears and trap her in a bedsheet, tying it tightly in knots and praying in the Creole language of Vaudin. The nanny rushed to a wagon that waited to take her to a rendezvous with Mademoiselle Marie herself.
When she arrived at the appointed place, the nurse was surprised to find Mademoiselle was not alone. With her was the old Vaudin woman who had brought the zombified Violet home.
Dun dun dun.
Violet the zombie child never did return to the house of her parents who, once she had been removed, seemed to return as if from a dream world. Even their grieving had ceased. The loyal servants never mentioned anything about the horrible visitation of the zombie child, nor did the nanny ever reveal what she had done with it.
That is actually insane, but okay. What's even more insane is that a year and a day from the moment the nanny evicted the zombie child to Mademoiselle Marie, the young couple was blessed with another child, a much less zombified son who would come to live with Robert and Yvette.
Of course, those days being what they were, people were all too often buried alive, having been mistaken for dead when they were in a coma.
That's right, Dr. Raybeck. Zombie scientist extraordinaire,
Really?
world-renowned. Yeah, it's true. I read actually an article recently, once about many of the caskets that came up after Hurricane Katrina had come and gone, and many of the older ones from the era that were examined having claw marks on the inside lid, as if somebody were trying to escape.
So while the whole story of Violet is a history mystery, there may be a reasonable explanation for it, after all.
Really? That is true. But while all of this happened in 1855, there is an update to the story that is less than 17 years old, believe it or not. In February 2005, a young couple bought a home that had been divided into apartments. Andy and Robert, there's a connection, bought the property and set out to renovate one side while living on the other. Smart move.
During the renovations, they uncovered a small door that had been covered over. After removing the plaster, they found it went to a tiny pantry. Using a flashlight, they explored the small space and found what they thought was an old tattered doll.
Nope.
She was covered in gauze and fabric and looked a bit like a large mummy doll.
Rob started dusting it off, and the flashlight caught the light of something that shimmered. The doll was wearing beautiful purple amethyst earrings. They decided to close up the space for now with bricks and steel and do some research. In August 2005, they learned the story of Violet.
And guess what else happened in August 2005?
Hurricane Katrina!
Andy and Rob left for the storm and returned to a home that had been battered but still stood. There was a portion of the roof missing, and they each had the same thought. Upon checking the small attic pantry, they found the doll was gone too.
Oh, great. Wonderful. A possibly possessed, evil, murderous doll is on the loose. Whether the wind took her or something else, like she got up and walked out. We will never know. And maybe it is for the best that the story of Violet remains a history mystery.
And now, let's move on to Creepy Culinary with Megan and Jackson, where they will make a full dinner that is sure to keep you ahead of things this Halloween.
God, I hate porcelain dolls.
Greetings, and welcome to another Creepy Culinary segment with me, Jackson. I'm finally going to be able to do one of these with Megan. I'm so excited.
Me too, Jackson. And it's a really fun one today, too. Today we're making zombie meatloaf with toxic potatoes.
Oh,
It's a full dinner that would be a hit with our Halloween guests.
Like, Toxic for Britney Spears. I love that song, by the way. Okay, so what do we have in Megan?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This doesn't look like ground up zombie.
Well, we don't actually have ground up zombie.
Wait,
I don't think that's a thing.
We're using this.
So we're using ground beef instead.
It just looks like zombie.
Yeah. We're just shaping it in the head.
Okay. I'm okay. I'm fine. Anyway, let's get the oven preheated to 350 degrees, and then let's look at the actual ingredients.
Okay, so the complete recipe is listed in the description below, but we have basically 1 pound of ground beef,
1/4 chopped onion. I prefer purple, but you can use whatever you like, as long as it's onion. Onion is perfectly fine.
2 eggs beaten,
Right here, which we have in a container. 2 garlic cloves, which we have displayed perfectly. Some fine. These will, of course, help with those nasty vampire bats. At least they usually do.
Yeah.
Doesn't work 100%.
1 cup of Italian breadcrumbs,
Which we have mixed with half a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning.
half a cup of tomato sauce,
1 hard-boiled egg, peeled and cut in half. Well, of course, leave the yolk in.
and then some garlic cloves that you do not cut.
Which we'll be using later on. So the first thing we do is, of course, we put in the meat. And then we want to throw in some of that chopped onion.
Right here.
With some of this. Put some of that in there. I like a lot of onion on my stuff. Next thing we're going to do is going to put in our chopped garlic. Next is our seasoning. Not too much, but not too little.
Good, Jackson. You're making.
There we go, that's
making a
good.
mess. And then your beaten egg,
Screw it. You know what?
not the boiled one. Make sure it's not the
Not
boiled
the boiled
one.
one. You want this. Ugh.
Like that.
Gross.
And the breadcrumbs, which we mixed into the other stuff. Then you add the tomato sauce.
Give me the tomato sauce. My favorite part, the blood.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god, don't splash on me. Don't splash on me. Ooh.
Then you mix it in with your hands.
Your
Make
clean
sure
hands.
it's clean.
Your clean hands.
And if you have long sleeves, make sure to roll them up so it doesn't get on your nice clothes or clothes at all.
But I don't need to worry about that.
Then you mix it in really, really well.
Trying my best here, alright, buddy?
Really.
I'm creating life. This is an easy performance. It's gotta be very
After
precise.
Jackson is done with this mixing, we're going to put it into the shape of a skull. Do you need help there? Mix it all in. You put it in this skull shape. Then you make the sockets for the eyes about 1/2 of the boiled egg. And then make this socket for the nose and the shape of the mouth. Then use the whole peeled garlic cloves and stick them in the mouth like teeth.
It's getting there. It's always perfect. Make the mouth for me. Hold up, help.
Okay.
There we go.
It is fine if they are not, because
Zombie!
yeah,
Zombie.
definitely that. But then you put the garlic cloves inside the
Yep, putting
For
it
the
in
teeth?
for the teeth.
Alright, can you hand me the 2 half-boiled eggs? So the next step you want to do is actually when you take your half-2 boiled eggs after you put in your teeth, which Megan is going to help me finish off. You're going to take these half-boiled eggs and you're going to stick them in those eye sockets. Now, you want to close the meat around the eyeballs because you want to make it look as much like an eyeball as you can. You don't want to completely cover it, but you still want to keep it nice and close
Yeah.
in. So,
Now it's time to go to the oven for 50 minutes.
with the magic of editing, we've already prepared this guy ahead of time. Look at that beautiful, beautiful
Dead
smile.
zombie Bob.
Dead Bob. Bob the zombie. Bob the zombie. Well, anyways, we're gonna put him aside for a bit.
And next we're going to start making the toxic potatoes. So you use 10 drops of green and 8 drops of yellow.
Just about. That's
Just
just
about.
about. You might
And
have
you
to
mix
differ
it.
depending on how much you have. And you
Yeah.
want to mix it up real good. Mix it up all together for a few minutes while you let your head of meat
Make
sit
sure
on the
you
side.
name your head before you eat it.
You want to get real personal with me, you know?
Yeah.
And now we have it mixed up.
All
We're going to
together.
take our guy after he's finished cooling off for a bit. And we're going to start spooning some of the toxic mashed potatoes
I'm not very good at
around
this.
his head. Don't worry about it.
You don't have to have my I don't want to mess it
We're
up.
gonna give him some hair. We're gonna give him
Hair.
a nice hairdo, bro. He's gonna have a great hairdo. He's gonna get all the zombie ladies.
Yes.
Spooning all around his head. Lay it out evenly, or as evenly as possible.
You can't see.
When
his
you're done
one.
spooning the mashed potatoes onto the
You might have a
platter.
little bit left over, like we do. That's okay.
It's like the dough after you bake cookies. You get to like eat it off the spoon. It's delicious.
And there you have it. Bob the zombie, ready for his prom date.
Ready for the prom date with this beautiful, beautiful smile. Look at that. Look at that winning smile. Anyways, this has been our Creepy Culinary segment. We'll be having another one next week, and I cannot wait to see you guys. Maybe I am turning into a zombie because that meatloaf looks absolutely delicious.
Well, if you're turning into a zombie, maybe you should work on your zombie noises so that the other zombies aren't offended and don't make fun of you.
You know, sometimes you can be really dead cold and way too harsh for your own good. Anywho, before we close off, we have one more special announcement.
That's right. Even though October is fun because of Halloween and fall, there is something else that is very special about October. It is a month that is dedicated to breast cancer awareness.
Yes, 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer in their lifetimes.
That is true, Jackson. Except for skin cancer, breast cancer is the most common among women.
True story. Most people know at least one person that has been affected by this. Our own fearless leader, Miss Jo, is a survivor herself, and it can happen at ages much younger than 40. So ladies, do those self-exams. Yeah, everything seems to be where it should be.
Oh my god, you did not just do that!
Well, it's a thing. It's a thing, right?
Yes, Jackson. It's a thing.
I mean, I'm just trying to stay abreast of the situation, all right?
The good news is that with awareness, there is a better chance for early detection. And this is why October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
There are places in your local area where you can either have a free or reduced price mammogram. And ladies, I encourage you to do just that.
Women's Imaging and Breast Cancer Center and LCMC Health Imaging Center are both offering free and reduced price mammograms this month. Make sure you make yourself aware of your body.
That was really nice, Lorelai.
Thank you.
Kind of poetic in a way. Well, that wraps up our show. I hope you enjoyed the zombie-filled Dames segments. I know we did, especially me. Make sure to tune in next week. We will have another History Mystery segment.
And making more creepy treats.
And we'll be meeting with DA candidate Leo Palazzo in our very own studio. I'm Jackson.
And I'm Lorelai. Remember to keep watching so that you will be informed.
And be entertained.
This is The Buzz. We'll catch you around the hive.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm being a zombie, obviously.